What if I told you there's a biology textbook that's over 1,000 years old? But here's the catch. Its pages aren't made of paper. They're made of massive, intricately carved volcanic stone. Well, that's Borobudur Temple in central Java. And hidden inside its epic spiritual stories is an incredible secret, a stunningly accurate record of a lost ecosystem. So let's dive in and treat this place not just as a temple, but as a stone herbarium.
And look, this isn't just some artsy interpretation. Researchers have looked at this, and the level of detail is almost scientific. These aren't just pretty decorations. We're talking about precise botanical illustrations, basically a frozen encyclopedia of all the plants that grew in Java back in the 9th century.
So for the next few minutes, we're going to become botanical detectives. Our mission? To crack the code of these ancient stone carvings and uncover the secrets of a world that is totally vanished. Think of it like this. We're investigating a 1,200-year-old cold case.
Now, any good investigation starts with the witnesses. In our case, that's the artists themselves, the ancient masters known as Silpin. These folks weren't just amazing storytellers. They were meticulous observers of the world around them. They managed to capture not just the shape of a plant, but its very essence, all in stone.
So how can we be sure these ancient artists knew what they were doing? Well, the first step in any investigation is to check the most important evidence. We're going to start by looking at the plants that had the deepest religious meaning. I mean, if the sculptors got these right, it tells you everything you need to know about their attention to detail.
So let's jump into our first line of inquiry. We're focusing on the plants that are literally woven into the fabric of Buddhist teachings. This is where you see spirituality and science come together right on the temple walls.
Okay, Exhibit A, the Bodhi tree. Now, this isn't just any old tree. This is the tree in the story of the Buddha. Its spiritual meaning is absolutely huge, which means the sculptors had to get it perfect. There was no room for error.
And at first glance, yeah, it's a tree, it's providing shade, it looks nice. That's the basic story. But the real proof, the absolute smoking gun for our case, is hidden in the tiniest details.
And this is where the sculptor's genius really shines. Look closer at those leaves. See, they're not just generic leaf shapes, they are perfectly heart-shaped with that long, drawn-out point at the end. Now, that's not just an artistic choice, that's a real botanical feature called a drip tip. It's an adaptation that helps the leaf get rid of all the heavy rain in a tropical climate. Case number 1, solved. The accuracy is just mind-blowing.
All right, let's move to Exhibit B in our sacred plant investigation, the lotus. Here's another plant with incredibly deep symbolism. You know, the way it grows from the murky water to blossom into this perfectly clean flower, it's a powerful metaphor for achieving enlightenment. And once again, the artists didn't just carve a pretty flower. Nope, they carved a full-on botanical study. They showed the entire life cycle. You can see the unique stems, the leaves floating on the water, the famous flower, and even that really distinctive, flat-topped seed pod. This is way more than art. It's a field guide carved in stone.
Okay, so we've established that our artist witnesses are totally credible. Now we can broaden our investigation. Let's move beyond the sacred stuff and look at everyday life. What can these carvings tell us about the ecosystem that actually fed the people of the Mataram kingdom?
Well, what we find is basically a menu from an ancient food forest. The reliefs are just packed with carvings of mangoes, jackfruit, bananas, sugarcane, you name it. This shows us that this wasn't some sparse, empty landscape. It was a really sophisticated and diverse system of agriculture, a whole civilization that was built on a deep understanding of their environment. Let's take the mango tree as our next case study. You see it a lot on the temple, not just as a food source in scenes of daily life, but also as a symbolic part of the Buddha's own story.
So how do we know it's really a mango tree and not just some random fruit tree? The clues are all there. The artists carved single leaves, not clusters of them. You can see how they're scattered along the branch. But the most convincing part? The fruit itself has that unmistakable bent, pointed tip. It's a positive ID for sure.
So we've proven the artists were incredibly accurate observers. But this is where our detective story takes a really interesting turn. We're moving from a historical investigation to something with huge modern-day relevance. This is the big reveal.
You might be wondering, why do we care about all this? I mean, why does identifying a mango on a stone wall matter to a scientist today? Well, the answer is what takes Borobudur from being just a historical marvel to a straight-up scientific treasure. It's because the temple has these two incredible legacies. Its original purpose, right, was to be a map to spiritual enlightenment, but it has this accidental legacy, something the creators never could have planned. They created a perfect ecological baseline.
So, what does that actually mean? It means these carvings are a snapshot in time. They give us a precise picture of the biodiversity in central Java from 1,200 years ago. Scientists today can compare this stone database to the ecosystem we have now and see exactly which species have survived, which have disappeared, and how the entire landscape has changed over centuries.
So, what's the final verdict in our botanical investigation? Well, the evidence is pretty overwhelming. Borobudur is so much more than a religious monument.
Back then, it served as a blueprint of a thriving Javanese ecosystem. And today, that ancient blueprint has an amazing new use. It can actually guide conservationists and landscapers who are trying to restore historical environments. It helps them pick the native plants that truly belong there. When you get right down to it, Borobudur is a monument to two amazing journeys. One is the spiritual journey of the soul, aiming for enlightenment, but the other is this equally profound tribute to the whole intricate web of life that made that civilization possible in the first place.
It's just a great reminder that long before we had modern biology, our ancestors were brilliant scientists in their own right. And it leaves us with this really fascinating question. If a 9th century temple holds a key to understanding massive environmental change, what other scientific secrets are just hiding in plain sight, carved into the art all around us?